So they're putting trillions of dollars into the Psyop programs. And one of the Psyop programs is the fake alien invasion, even though there are probably real aliens, obviously. And they were spiritual beings, and they used different resources than what we reversed engineered to be in this place right now. It's quite shitty, if you ask me.
Welcome to the Unveiling Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Mosby. Join me as I dive into powerful stories of resilience and strength. In each episode, I sit down with guests who have faced similar journeys of coercive control, financial manipulation, and personal invasion. Together, we uncover the shadows, share our experiences, and inspire others to reclaim their lives. Tune in, listen, and be a part of the community that stands tall against the forces that seek to control us.
Hello, I want to go over a video that I saw last night with Dr. Stephen Greer, and then I want to touch on Pyramid Code 3 with Ray. And I'll put the video links in my bio. If you like what I'm doing, please like, share, and subscribe.
Ongoing, and that there are very significant projects that have embezzled vast sums of money, that have not only the technologies, but are doing all manner of criminal activities in the wake of it. This being said, the majority of people working in those projects have no idea that they're involved in a criminal enterprise. They wouldn't know that unless they had been involved in trying to get this information to people like the president, excuse me, and people like the CIA director and senior officials in the Pentagon, like the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, whom I briefed, who was totally shut out and told just to go away. Now, once I was able to establish those data points and facts, our group concluded that the project was unconstitutional and illegal, secret government projects, and therefore we declared them criminal enterprises. This is the foundation in 1999 and 2000 of the Disclosure Project. But we had to do a lot of work first. I mean, people need to know the context here. You don't just do this by decree. I had to have meetings with ministers of defense and secretaries of defense and senior folks in the government, senior members of the intelligence community and the intelligence committees in the House and the Senate, oversight committee chairman like Dan Burton back in the day. And all of those guys told me absolutely, every single one of them, that they were curious about the issue. They had never gotten a briefing, and when they made inquiries, they knew they were either being lied to or they were directly threatened. So at that point, we concluded these projects were, in fact, a priori, illegal criminal enterprises.
And so why do you think that these secret UFO programs, these reverse engineering programs, these human trafficking programs, whatever they happen to be, are being kept from us?
I think there are two big agendas here. The twin pillars of this secrecy are, one, the technologies that are being kept secret would instantly fix the global environmental, energy, and poverty problems.
Yep.
Now you think, well, isn't that a good thing? Well, it's not a good thing if you're part of a global elite, corporate and otherwise, that benefit from the status quo of the system. We're not talking about a few $1 billion here. We're literally talking about hundreds of trillions of dollars.
Of our money.
Because if you look at what the Pentagon confirmed a couple years ago, and I've spoken to the Navy F-18 pilot, David Fravor, about this, when they chased that UFO off the coast of San Diego in 2004. And by the way, we have 3,500 pilot accounts like that, 3,500. But my point is that at that point, the Pentagon had to admit that it was a real object, that it was not using jets and rockets. And I tell people, every time I go into a meeting with someone in the Congress, I go, look at that object. That is an alternative energy and propulsion device. What does that mean? It means that everything we're using to go into space, rockets, jets, internal combustion engines, power plants using oil, gas, coal, solar, wind, geothermal, are and have been obsolete for a century, the better part of a century.
Yep.
And for that reason, this is one of the biggest existential crises facing the planet and also America, because we're very dependent on oil from dictatorships, and we don't have enough of it for the 3 billion people who don't even have any energy to cook their food with. There are 3 billion people, by the way, on the earth that are cutting down rainforests because they have to make charcoal. They don't have gas and electricity like you and I do. So this entire problem is artificial. It's a construct of power. And it's not because we don't have the technology. I'm a scientist. I believe in scientific solutions to these huge problems, and we have them. That's the good news. The very good news everyone should hear is that we have these solutions. The very bad news is people who are ruthlessly violent and criminal have kept it secret with malice and forethought. And the second part of the secrecy has to do with let's call it, as the CIA director in 1953, Mr. Smith called it, the psychological warfare value of the UFO subject. Now, what am I referring to here? 99.9% of all news coverage, movies, internet sites on this issue posit and present a threat from outer space that is alien. This is nonsense. Those civilizations are not a threat. The problem are covert programs that are staging operations made to look alien that are a threat. Now, this gets into a wider assessment of, and you have to go down the rabbit hole with me for a second.
That's what we love to do on the show, so please.
Okay, all right, so if you've had 80 years, and some of the most brilliant scientists I've ever met in my lifetime are in these covert projects working in skiffs and in underground facilities with trillions of dollars that have been embezzled.
Yes. And a majority of that is the taxpayers' dollars. So they're putting trillions of dollars into the Psyop programs. And one of the Psyop programs is the fake alien invasion, even though there are probably real aliens, obviously. And they were spiritual beings, and they used different resources than what we reversed engineered to be in this place right now. It's quite shitty, if you ask me. But anyway, I sent a cease and desist letter for the MK Ultra, basically mind control bullshit, and they're still doing it. And I don't think that that's a good idea.
From the U.S. government, but also from other sources, drug running, etc.
It's all connected.
You have technologies that are 1,000 to 5,000 years ahead of anything the legal Pentagon guys I meet with have, or that the president knows about, or that the Congress knows about. Now that is dangerous because it's an unregulated group doing all manner of criminal activities, number one. But number two,
Do you think?
they are able to stage operations tactically that to everyone seeing it would look like an alien event. Let's give an example. Some of the incursions over our own classified airspace, like the ones I just referred to in a restricted zone off the coast of California, those were Lockheed Skunk Work aircraft, anti-gravity craft. Those were not ET. Those were not extraterrestrial. The people who have been, quote, abducted and the mutilations associated with this issue, those were all being done by a psychological warfare unit staging a threat from outer space. Why? They want to unite the world in a militaristic, global sort of totalitarian state against the aliens from another world. That's the 70-year plan that Carol Rosin, who's on my team, who is the spokesperson for Wernher von Braun, who invented the rocket for Adolf Hitler, that it was clear when she saw that document back in the 70s that this was the plan. And Wernher von Braun said, yes, they have to stage a threat from outer space to unite the world around that threat. They had brainwashed Ronald Reagan to say that. If you remember, at the United Nations, he made that comment. Wouldn't our job of creating unity of the world be easier if we face a common alien threat? So that narrative, which is completely false, who does that serve? It serves people who are power hungry, trying to accumulate vast power, not just in the United States, but globally around a false threat.
It's a global agenda.
Now, the reason we know it's a false threat is that I have people on my team who have been on the tactical abduction units using man-made anti-gravity craft that are made by my uncle's old company, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, Lockheed, EG&G. We know who's working on them. We know where their plants are. We know how the devices operate. And so when you have that capability, and out of a million people, I don't think you'd find one person in a million, when they were to see one of these objects and see the creatures they use that are the stagecraft to abduct folks, everyone would think that was an ET or an alien. It isn't. So now people go, this is a crazier story than the UFO story. And I tell people, 1991, a senior intelligence official reached out to me. I'm a young doctor. And he says, if you tell the people the truth, it is less believable than the fiction that everyone is believing, because it's more bizarre. It's more strange. And I said, yes, I know this. And this is a big problem.
It is, because the truth shall set you free.
That's the false narrative. So you have these twin pillars of the secrecy, keeping the technology away from the benefit of
we the people.
And by the way, this is whether you're a left-wing environmentalist Green Party person or a libertarian, this is your dream, that you would have a box like your heat pump or smaller that would run your house or your car or your factory.
It should
or
be
your business
very, very
with zero
little
energy costs, pulling energy out of what's
magnetism
called the
is
zero-point energy field,
a million
quantum vacuum,
times
which, by the way, Tesla
stronger than energy
back in the early 20th century.
Or
so I think this is one of the big problems here, is that you have to connect the dots. What I'm trying to do very quickly here at the beginning of what would be the compelling reason for such extreme secrecy.
Money.
That between 1956 and 1960, Dwight Eisenhower lost control, oversight of these projects, is because in 1954, they broke the code of what's called gravity control, anti-gravity. They had these free energy technologies figured out. The industrial fascist folks decided globally, we don't want this out. And they have more power than the US government, frankly, much more, and more money in the aggregate. And they also figured that going down the road, if we're going to actually be able to build the military industrial complex in its excess form, not legitimate military, those guys are our friends, then the way to do that is to have a bigger threat than the Soviet Union or terrorists or what have you. My big concern, as this disclosure effort picks up steam and is being made official through inquiries and hearings and what's going on in Washington right now, they are going to get hijacked by this false narrative. And in 1999, I wrote a paper, you can see it on our website, called When Disclosure Serves Secrecy. So the disclosure that they want to do is a false one that would unite the world in a sort of militaristic junta or dictatorship.
Right.
Kunta Kunti. Okay, anyway, so I hope you like the podcast. If you like what I'm doing, if you want me to change something, if you want me to do some videos on something else, please leave your comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Unveiling Shadows podcast. I hope today's episode has shed light on the experiences that too often remain hidden. If you or someone you know has a story to share, please reach out to me. Remember, you're not alone and your voice matters. Follow me on social media and subscribe to the podcast for more inspiring stories.